Jest to grupa zorganizowana, która ma ogromny wpływ na rzeczywistość i na życie zwykłych ludzi. Do tego wykorzystuje ich i to w najbardziej wrażliwej, uważam, strefie, jeśli chodzi o ludzkie uczucia też, bo to są uczucia religijne. I oni jakby tu w tym zrobili takie ciężkie włamanie i zwodzenie. Wszystko to jest podszyte mniejszą lub większą przestępczością, układami, związkami z władzą i to od zawsze. Jedne z pierwszych grup zorganizowanych to były właśnie związki religijne. A jak się już możemy domyślać, po zachodniej stronie świata, oczywiście satanistycznych oczywiście, bo to wszystko się przewija tylko i wyłącznie wokół złej intencji. Tylko tutaj jest to zawoalowane mitraizmem, satanizmem, pogaństwem, kultem słońca i heliolatrią. Oczywiście ja podnoszę od samego początku, że rzymskie wyznanie jest zwodzeniem od początku do końca. Zaadoptowano tam tylko niektóre opowieści i historie o Ozyrysie. Przeniesiono je tu niby na Jezusa, ale tak w rzeczywistości to użyto tylko jego postaci. Tak naprawdę Jezus był gnostykiem i w ogóle był wyznawcą zupełnie innych wartości, niż chce nam się tutaj przedstawić w tym rzymskim zwodzeniu od samego początku. Dla mnie to jest w ogóle oszustwo 2000 lat. Naszych ostatnich 2000 lat. To jest największy walek. Posługiwanie się fałszywym życiorysem i naukami Jezusa, gdzie możemy znaleźć odniesienia, podobne odniesienia w historiach ze starożytnego Egiptu. Od zawsze podnosiłem, że chrześcijaństwo jest bardziej rzymskim mitraizmem, czyli tak naprawdę wyznaniem religijnym i filozoficznym wyższych sfer rzymskich w tamtym czasie, kiedy żył Konstantyn. I oni, żeby nie musieli z tego rezygnować, to w jakiś sposób przemycili do rytuały i różną symbolikę do rzymskiego chrześcijaństwa. Po usankcjonowaniu przez Konstantyna brzmienia państwowego rzymskiego chrześcijaństwa, do którego przemycono tę całą symbolikę mitraizmu, tej heliolatrii i różne rytuały, chrześcijanie przeżyli w swojej historii konflikt między chrześcijanami. I to dotyczyło właśnie starych chrześcijan z nowymi. No i oczywiście wygrał kościelny instytucjonalizm. Pokonali stare, powiedzmy, brzmienie nauk Jezusa. Nie mówimy, że to było chrześcijaństwo. Nie mamy dowodów wpisanych, jak się nazywało w ogóle to wyznanie, ta jego filozofia, bo on bardziej był filozofem, aniżeli jakimś tam synem Bożym. Oni z niego zrobili pół debila analfabetę. On przepierdolił połowę biblioteki aleksandryjskiej i kiedy miał 8 lat, potem wrócił do Judei z Egiptu, to przecież zaginął tych wszystkich z Sanhedrynu. Oni byli wkurwieni, że tam jakiś placek, jakiś hipeczek, on ich zaginał. Był wysoce utalentowany, nieprzeciętna postać, bardzo eteryczna, do tego uczony chłopak od małego. No i wprowadzał im po prostu bunt w społeczeństwie, do tego uczył ludzi myśleć. Stworzył swój własny nurt gnostyczno-filozoficzny, który nawiązywał do immanentnej energii, w której my funkcjonujemy między życiem a śmiercią. Tak to można, powiedzmy, w pewien sposób przetłumaczyć ze zwojów znak Hamandi.
One of the most surprising things about Rome is that the city we see today, including parts of the Vatican, lie right on top of the more ancient pagan city from well over 2,000 years ago. And some say that the old worship sites still play a secret but important role at the very highest levels of the church today.
Perhaps the very earliest people wanted to show the pagans, look, we're in charge now. We're building on top of the ruins of your religion. Okay, so that's as far as most traditionalists would go. But maybe there's also an element of we are absorbing the power. It's believed by many people, for example, that churches were built on power lines, or ley lines, and that these in themselves had power in the land.
This was the craft of the wise. We believed in Mother Earth and that we go back to Mother Earth. And it's not really a bad thing at all. And they nicked all of the ideas, all of the pagan sites and Christianized it and splashed holy water on it and nicked all of the religious relics and things that were inside. And I would imagine they're probably still tucked away somewhere underneath the Vatican.
The church is not a holy, benevolent organization. It's actually satanic. And there's black masses and rituals, and they situated their city and the country above pagan temples below. And in fact, they're still venerated. Isis becomes Mary Magdalene. You have Osiris becoming Jesus, and so on. So the fact is, it's a really, really dark place.
This is San Clemente Church in Rome. It's run today by an Irish order of Dominican monks. It was founded over 3.5 centuries ago and houses one of the last remaining entrances down into the ancient pre-Christian remains of the city. Vatican historian and local guide Rob Allen is an expert on subterranean Rome and agreed to show me the remains of a 2,000-year-old temple, which in its day was actually at ground level.
The amazing thing is that we're walking down to the 1st century AD now, and we're walking into a house of brick that 100 years later, after it was built, was made into what was known as a Mithraeum, okay, for the cult of the pagan god Mithras. And if you can look over here, you can see a plaque, because when they excavated here in the 19th century, they had a problem. It's showing you the water level, because this whole place started to flood. There was a natural spring under here. And if you're quiet enough, you can hear the pump still running. It's still pumping out water today. Now, we're going to be going inside where they had the religious practices of the Mithraeum. Mithraeum was a pagan cult. It wasn't a state cult, it was a mystery cult. So that doesn't mean that people didn't know of its existence, but people didn't know of all these important rituals about how to get involved in this kind of secret society cult. A cult that was exclusively for men, for soldiers, for administrators. And here is the culmination of the life of Mithras, this god right here. You see the god Mithras in his Phrygian cap. All right, he is a representation of the sun, and he is slaying a bull, which it is considered that it is the moon, okay? Do you see that he would have been in frescoes? We see him painted white, okay? So it is like a crescent moon. You can even see his tail. It's right at the moment that he's being killed. And he has these creatures that are accompanying him, because this is all an allegory to a rebirth. So you have here, it's hard to decipher, but we have a dog, we have a serpent, and right where the knife is stabbing, the blood is pouring out, they're drinking of it. And also you have a scorpion stinging him in the testicles, because this is all, they're taking the life force out of the bull. Sometimes it's even depicted that there are corn husks coming from his tail.
You know, for decades, no, hundreds of years, there's been rumors from priests, from cardinals, from reputable people, that there's a small sort of sect within the church who conduct sacrifices and rituals that are very, very dark indeed. So you have to wonder then, is it any accident that they've situated their capital and their country right on top of these temples? I think not.
The Vatican, like so many other Christian sites, was built on an existing place of worship. It's the form of the church saying, we're in control of religion now, so your pagan site now becomes a Christian site. So this is what happens in Rome, in the Vatican. Yes, there are remnants of old religions there that were probably a little bit darker than what Christianity is supposed to be. But the idea of extrapolating from an architectural accident or an architectural sort of, conjunction to saying that the leaders of the Catholic Church within the Vatican are a bunch of satanic occultists is nonsense of the highest order.
The Catholic Church, or should I say Christianity in general, hijacked paganism. That was, before them, the true religion, if you like, and they just nicked all of the sites, all of the ideals, the ideology behind it, and took it on for themselves.
You know, there's a reason why you have very important religious sites, Christian sites, being built on top of Mithraic pagan sites, and that's because, you know, these sites had some sort of power, and you know, they wanted to be co-opted by this new religion. And if you look at most monotheistic societies, they more or less say all the same things, kind of like a smorgasbord of what's gone on before, which is why you see, you know, whether it's paganism or Christianity, these kind of same things being enacted over and over again, to the point that even some of the names are similar.
No, kolejna sprawa, papieże dewianci. Kupowali sobie te stanowiska, w ogóle jacy pacjenci, tam jeden to wykopał drugiego, zbezcześcił jego zwłoki w ciężki sposób. Ciężka patologia. Burdele organizowali, pobierali pieniądze z nierządów. No dewianci. Co tylko nam może przyjść do głowy, to możemy być pewni, że oni to robili. No jak się możemy domyślać, większość tej stawki są święci w tej instytucji, cokolwiek to oznacza. Watykan w swojej historii ma niechlubne związki z faszystami, z nazistami, z hitlerowcami. Pius XII, Reichskonkordat. Następnie po II wojnie światowej, niechcący, Watykan zorganizował dokumenty uciekającym nazistom z Europy do Ameryki Południowej, do Argentyny. Załatwił im papiery korytarzem szczurów, a za wszystko był odpowiedzialny Alois Hudal.
Very few people today are aware of the Vatican's dark history. The most controversial pope of modern times was Pius XII, who took over in 1939 and was labelled Hitler's Pope by those who accuse him of turning a blind eye to reports of the Holocaust. Further back, there was Pope Leo XIII, who, in the closing years of the 19th century, dashed fledgling hopes of reconciliation between the Church of England and the Church of Rome by declaring that all Anglican ordinations were null and void, a judgment which still stands. In the 9th century, Pope Stephen VI decided to exhume the corpse of his predecessor but one, Formosus, so that it could, wait for it, stand trial. Dressed in the papal vestments, it unsurprisingly offered no adequate defence and was condemned to be mutilated and thrown into the Tiber. And in what was a low point for the sexual morals of the papacy, in 954, the 18-year-old John XII, the son of a previous pope, took office and turned the Lateran, the papal palace before the Vatican, into a brothel. He was ultimately murdered a decade later by an outraged cuckold who found him in bed with his wife. In fact, over 1,000 years later, rumours and accusations still swirl around this holy city. In 2003, the so-called Magdalene laundries came to light, where it was proved that single mothers and prostitutes were forced into slave labour houses in Ireland, overseen by Catholic nuns. A $43 million settlement was paid to survivors. In 2009, it was revealed that the Archdiocese of Boston had covered up the sexual abuse of thousands of children by 70 priests. That figure has now increased to over 3,000 Catholic priests around the world accused of allegedly conducting systemic abuse of tens of thousands of children.
The Catholic Church is facing scandals and being forced to pay millions of dollars.
John Gagin is accused of molesting and raping boys as young as 4 years old over a period of 34 years.
2/3 of bishops, protected priests, accused of sexual abuse.
Lawyers for victims of the Catholic Church may sue the Vatican for access to material they say may shed light on the dialogue between Rome and American bishops to see if there was any official hush policy.
Do you think that the Catholic Church has known for some time about the problems that they have with child abuse and have been reluctant to go?
Absolutely. They've been covering it up for years. There are cases of priests being caught and being found guilty internally within the Vatican by their peers and being moved to other locations before a scandal could break. So there has been a history of cover-ups, and the cover-ups has just done more damage because as soon as they're discovered, It's no longer an issue of one priest acting on his own. It's the whole organisation gets called into question for being that corrupt.
This is an evil empire. Whenever they come across, are made to face up to yet another example of child abuse. First of all, they always deny it. Second of all, when forced to accept it, they say, oh, well, it's just, you know, the odd rotten apple in a barrel. There's an awful lot of rotten apples. There is obviously a network.
There's no doubt that throughout its history, there have been a lot of bad apples in the Vatican. There's no doubt that there are Catholic priests at all levels of the Vatican have done bad things. You know, we've seen it in Ireland, so many child abuse cases carried out by Catholic priests, but I don't see the Vatican as being in itself this kind of centre of evil that, you know, is responsible for bad things happening in society throughout the ages. I see it as being as venal and corrupt as any other flabby, overly large institution that's not really held accountable.
Bardzo ciekawą historią, ogólnie w przestrzeni i działalności Kościoła, są egzorcyzmy. Zastanówmy się, skąd może się brać opętanie w czymś tak boskim i tak doskonałym jak chrześcijaństwo, jak Biblia, te całe święte słowa i w ogóle. Jak się okazuje, stara część Biblii, judeo-chrześcijańskiej, zaznaczmy, z premedytacją, judeo-chrześcijańskiej Biblii. Stara część Biblii judeo-chrześcijańskiej ma moc opętania, dlatego że używa się tam, powołuje się na Słowo Boże, a w rzeczywistości cała jest przesiąknięta złą intencją do wszystkich nieżydów. Jahwe przemawia tylko i wyłącznie do obrzezanych w tym Starym Testamencie i do przestrzegających 613 przykazań halachy. Dlaczego więc księża katolicy czytają na mszach dookoła świata tym biednym ludziom Stary Testament? Nie mam pojęcia. Oczywiście judaizm jest w czystej formie satanizmem. Z tego względu, że tam nie występuje w ogóle dobra intencja poza grono judaistów. To jest jak najbardziej odłam religijny, jak najbardziej nazistowski. Nie asymilujący się z nikim i mający wszystkich w dupie, traktujących wszystkich jako trzodę służącą do wyrobu im tylko.
One of the more bizarre services offered by the Vatican is the removal of devils and demonic spirits, or exorcism as it's more commonly known. For centuries now, Vatican-trained priests have gone out to combat evil and rid its followers of evil forces, armed only with a crucifix, a Bible, and some holy water. And yes, it is still going on today. In fact, the Vatican's head exorcist for the last 30 years, Father Gabriele Amorth, recently died. He claimed to have overseen over 180,000 exorcisms in his life. He famously hated the Harry Potter novels and even yoga, saying, "Practicing yoga is satanic. It leads to evil, just like reading Harry Potter."
It is interesting that the Vatican does wholly believe in demons as an entity, and they've got more exorcists now than ever. Pretty much every diocese has an assigned exorcist within their region that they can call upon. They perform the rite of exorcism, which is a huge kind of document full of litanies and Latin and invoking the saints and basically trying to expel the demon.
There are now over 200 of them employed by the Vatican. Their job is to cast out demons that possess their flock, that take them over body and soul. And this, of course, goes back to the New Testament and earlier, where you read about Jesus casting out demons. And, of course, this is very much in that tradition.
It seems extraordinary that even today, you know, relatively well into the 21st century, that the Vatican is still has some of its priests performing exorcisms. It shows that there is still this huge belief in what we'd associate with being some very ancient ideas of evil spirits and demons. These are kind of biblical concepts from the Old Testament.
Niechcący Watykan ma związki z mafiami i z grupami przestępczymi. Pięknie to było pokazane w ogóle w filmie Ojciec Chrzestny. Jak się okazuje, ciekawą organizacją religijną jest Opus Dei. Ciekawą organizacją jest jakaś grupa Propaganda 2. Też mało o tym słyszałem. Ciekawą grupą są rycerze maltańscy.
It's a trick. The whole entire world is a business. And the more I learn about this, the more you see how this stuff really works. It's extraordinarily scary stuff. The Vatican's behind all of this stuff, way behind all of this stuff at the Vatican. You better go back and look at the real powers behind the world throne. That's the Vatican. You better go back and check out the Jesuits. Jesuits are really behind a lot of this stuff. I mean, get the movie Godfather 3, the third one in the series. Michael Corleone, everybody knows he's a godfather, he's the head of the mob family. And in the very beginning of Godfather 3, he's being anointed with a sword in New York as a member of the Knights of Malta. Yeah, it's in the movie. He's right in the church, and the cardinal is anointing Michael Corleone into something called the Knights of Malta. The Knights of Malta are a very powerful secret society operating behind and for the Catholic Church. They're connected to something called Opus Dei, the work of God, Opus Dei. And Opus Dei, CIA, NSA, all of these alphabet agencies are connected to the Knights of Malta, which is a Catholic institution. This is why all over the world, all the politicians go and kiss the ring of the Holy Father and bow down and kiss the ring. Why? Because he's the Holy Father. He represents God. He is the Godfather. We're talking Rome. We're talking powerful occult orders of secret societies, Opus Dei. They're the people who are, Rome gave birth to something called P2, Propaganda Due. P2 Lodge is operating out inside the Vatican, inside the Catholic Church as a secret society called Propaganda Due, P2. P2 is an extremely powerful occult network of very powerful politicians, military leaders, and they are well known. Even in the movie Godfather 3, P2 is mentioned twice. Go back and watch it. They talk about P2. And there's a time when the young man who's taking over the Godfather position is meeting the Grand Master of P2, Propaganda Due. It's in the movie. And he introduces him as the master of P2.
Opus Dei is a cesspool of controversies, more so than many other Catholic institutions. The Jesuits are heavily opposed to the Opus Dei's existence, claiming that the Opus Dei is very dangerous, and that there were signs in it of a covert inclination to dominate the world with a form of Christian Masonry. It isn't just the Jesuits that have criticized Opus Dei, though. Many leaders, journalists, other religious figures, and ex-members criticize the organization for its many cult-like practices. For instance, the recruitment process of Opus Dei is highly aggressive, using love bombing or showering potential recruits with admiration to join, despite many psychologists claiming love bombing is a part of a cycle of abuse and is described as psychological manipulation. Another factor why Opus Dei is described as cult-like is because of the immense control Opus Dei directors have over their members. Ex-supporters even mention that leaders would burn books that were part of their forbidden books list. To quote, former numerary Joseph Gonzalez says, "During my stint as a numerary, I witnessed the numeraries, including the directors, intermittently burning books in the garden at the back of the center, usually Protestant Bibles and books on the theory of evolution. As expected, Opus Dei denies repressing their members' freedom and would often do so by quoting Escrivá, who once said, 'Respect for its members' freedom is an essential condition for Opus Dei's very existence.'" The factors contributing to Opus Dei's cult-like status doesn't end yet, as their intense secrecy is a point of contention and has raised more questions than answers. Opus Dei does not publish member lists, and members do not reveal that they are part of the organization to the public. In fact, in its 1950 constitution, members are forbidden to reveal their membership unless granted permission by their leaders. Lastly, another heavily criticized part of the Opus Dei is their influence within the Catholic Church as a whole. Because of its unique status, Opus Dei has both too much independence and influence towards the church. Critics would say that Opus Dei has become a church in a church, thanks to its independence. The combination of dated beliefs, questionable practices, and very aggressive control over its members all point to Opus Dei being one massive cult disguised as an institution of the Catholic Church.
The Vatican's behind all of this stuff, way behind all of this stuff at the Vatican. You better go back and look at the real powers behind the world throne. That's the Vatican.
We know that the name Vatican has nothing to do with the Bible, Greek language, or Latin. It is derived from the Etruscan god Vatis, who was the god of divine communication and prophecy. The Etruscans believed that Vatis resided in an underground cave, and they built their temples on top of these caves to commune with the god. Today, the Vatican is still built on top of an ancient Etruscan cave, and it's said that the Pope himself communicates with Vatis through a secret tunnel that connects the Vatican to the cave. Whether or not this is true remains a mystery, but it is clear that the name Vatican originates from pagan belief.
Jakby tego wszystkiego było mało, Watykan jest tak sprzyjającą społeczeństwu organizacją, że niechcący mają jakieś tajne zbiory. No oczywiście tutaj dane są rozbieżne. Jedni mówią, że te tajne zbiory mają 30 coś kilometrów, inni mówią, że około 50. Jakby kurwa nie patrzeć, to jest to dużo kilometrów i do tego niepokojące jest jeszcze to, że to do jakiegoś czasu były tajne zbiory. Oni tam, Franciszek bodajże w którymś roku zmienił nazwę tych zbiorów. Ogólnie Franciszek to jest ciekawa osoba. W 2018 roku postawił pomnik Molocha na drodze krzyżowej. Demona i dewianta. Ale oczywiście papież Franciszek nie jest satanistą. Tak.
In October 2019, Pope Francis changed the name from Vatican Secret Archives to the Vatican Apostolic Archives. The Apostolic Archives is the central repository of the Holy See for all of its acts, deeds, and documents, and is one of the oldest institutions in the world. It was founded on the initiative of Paul V in the mid-17th century, and is currently one of the most extensive archives in the world. The archive also contains personal archives of the Pope and are subject to the Pope's authority. The archives are divided into two sections: the Vatican Apostolic Archive and the Vatican Secret Archive. The Apostolic Archive contains documents from the pontificate of Pope Innocent VIII up to the 20th century, while the Secret Archive houses records from more recent years. The Apostolic Archive is open to researchers, while the Secret Archive is not. The Vatican Secret Archives is a vast storehouse of secrets and revelations, containing records of scandals and explosive information. The archives are so enormous and disorganized that no one knows its full extent. One expert claims that there are only 24 miles or so of shelves for the archives. However, the Vatican recently admitted that there are 85 linear kilometers, 52 miles of shelves. Additionally, there are 135 fondi, or individual archives, separate from these shelved entries. These include not only records of papal decrees, chancery business, and the like, but other materials, such as the records of prominent papal families, suppressed religious orders and monasteries, and those of nunciatures, or church embassies. Most of this has never been examined, much less indexed or cataloged. The access is strictly controlled because of sensitive information, such as information regarding the Inquisition, a group of institutions within the Catholic Church whose aim was to combat heresy, conducting trials of suspected heretics. These types of information can only be seen with permission from its successor organization, the Sacred Congregation for the Propagation of the Faith. Nevertheless, the Vatican Secret Archives is a valuable source of information for historians and researchers seeking to uncover the truth about the Catholic Church and the world around us. According to some rumors, the Vatican archives contain evidence of extraterrestrial life. The most commonly cited evidence is a series of skulls that are said to be of extraterrestrial origin. Some people believe that the Pope is in league with these aliens, and that they are working together to implant everyone on Earth with computer chips. While there is no concrete evidence to support these claims, they remain a source of fascination for many people. If the rumors are true, it would mean that the Vatican is sitting on one of the biggest secrets in history. Perhaps one day we'll know the truth, but for now, the Vatican remains tight-lipped on the matter of the extraterrestrial.
Z plotek mniej lub bardziej wiarygodnych jest taki ciekawy mit i plotka pogłoska, że Watykan ma coś na wzór maszyny, które można podejrzeć określoną przestrzeń i czas, chronowizor. Nie jest to niemożliwe, a do tego okazywałoby się, że taki eteryzm nie jest żartem. Więc jakby fama czy mit nawiązujący do tego chronowizora nie jest wcale taki niemożliwy. Ja kiedyś w innym klipie na kanale Eteryzm na YouTube, też poruszyłem taki temat, że gdybyśmy mieli odpowiednią technologię, bylibyśmy w stanie w obrębie, w powietrzu nawet, bylibyśmy w obrębie, w powietrzu zakłócać w stanie przestrzeń do tego stopnia, że moglibyśmy oglądać, powiedzmy, Nowy Jork. Czasoprzestrzeń, ale z innego miejsca. Taki podgląd. Przez eter. Moim zdaniem ta cała technologia, telewizory, to wszystko to właśnie dopiero imituje tą technologię obcych, która im to umożliwia. I my możemy być obserwowani przez kogoś z góry, nawet w czasie i przestrzeni. Tak, według tej mojej tezy i koncepcji. I nawet o tym nie wiedzieć. To jest nawet podobne działanie w myśl właśnie tego chronowizora, o którym jest tutaj mowa.
To say that the chronovisor is a time-traveling machine wouldn't be entirely correct, though it wouldn't be incorrect either. If by time-traveling machine you mean transporting a person to another time period to allow them to live that era in person, then the chronovisor isn't a time-traveling machine by that definition. However, if you define a time-traveling machine as a device that allows users to peer into either the past or future, then the chronovisor is a time-traveling machine. The chronovisor is described as a time viewer that had the ability to film and capture images from the past without sound. Think of it more as a window to the past than a time machine, a device capable of displaying scenes from a specific time in the past. It's unsure whether the chronovisor is capable of viewing events in the future, as only reports of events from the past have been observed by Ernetti. While a blueprint of this device exists in the public domain, it's not exactly clear how the machine functions. The chronovisor is reported to have been built by a team of 12 scientists, most of which go unnamed, but includes famed physicist Enrico Fermi and former Nazi scientist Wernher von Braun, who helped Ernetti construct the device. Fermi was noteworthy, as he received a Nobel Prize in Physics in 1938, while von Braun was part of the NASA team that allowed America to step on the moon. While the concept of a time-traveling machine is seemingly impossible, with a team of these renowned scientists, it lessens the gap of fiction and reality. The machine itself was composed of antennae made out of mysterious metals, which were responsible for receiving light and sound signals on every wavelength responsible for tuning into a specific time and place. Additionally, there was a screen and recording device that allowed the user to capture any moments they wanted. Historical events, some of which he has proofs of observing. As mentioned earlier, Ernetti claims to have watched parts of Thyestes during his televisual travels, publishing fragments of what he observed from the play. He also claims to have seen ancient Rome during its prime. Ernetti was also able to recount how he witnessed Marcus Tullius Cicero's speech to the Roman Senate in 63 BC. Other speeches Ernetti claims to have watched are those of Mussolini and Napoleon. The boldest and most famous historical event he claims to have witnessed through the chronovisor, however, is the crucifixion of Jesus Christ in AD 33. On May 2nd, 1927, through an Italian magazine called La Domenica del Corriere, Ernetti published a shocking image that surprised many, especially the religious: the never-before-seen face of a crucified Jesus Christ. While its legitimacy is heavily contested, this is what Ernetti considers as the prime proof of the chronovisor's time-traveling abilities, because nobody saw the chronovisor machine itself. In addition to this, Ernetti also claims that he witnessed the Last Supper and kept a photograph of the event for himself as a souvenir. Though unlike his claim of seeing Christ's crucifixion, evidence for this has not been provided by Ernetti. The Vatican has been silent on the issue of the chronovisor, though many speculate that the Vatican may have forcefully silenced Ernetti to ensure that a time-traveling machine remains a secret to the public while being exclusive to the Vatican's possession. It's been rumored that Ernetti went back in time for the Vatican to capture exclusive images of historical Christian events, such as the crucifixion of Christ. The Society of Jesus was founded in 1540 by Ignatius of Loyola, a Spanish Basque nobleman. The Jesuits were initially created to be an order of missionaries, but they quickly gained a reputation for being fierce defenders of the Catholic faith. They were also known for their education and intellect, and they soon became one of the most powerful orders in the Church. The Jesuits answered directly to the Pope, but were also answerable to their superior general, the so-called Black Pope. St. Ignatius of Loyola first used the title, with black referring to the Society's dark and secretive yet powerful nature. The Black Pope is a shadowy figure believed to wield incredible power behind the scenes of the Catholic Church. However, he is shrouded in mystery, with many theories about his true identity and purpose. Some believe he's the true power behind the Catholic Church, while others claim that he is just another figurehead with little absolute authority. The Black Pope is the head of the Jesuits, acting as the superior general, Praepositus Generalis in Latin, of the Order of the Jesuits. He is referred to as the Black Pope not because of his race or skin color, but because of his position in the church hierarchy. It is said that he is second in command after the Pope, making him one of the most influential people in the Catholic Church. The name comes from the black cassock, or long-sleeve clothing that Jesuits wear, often seen as secretive, powerful, and omniscient. Although the superior general has authority over all society members, he typically leads through provincial superiors who report to him. Similar to other religious organizations, its power derives from the sacred vows that link members to communal life. After one of the superior generals retires or passes away, another will be elected by a body known as the General Congregation of Society. If a person is elected a superior general, they have that title for the rest of their life until they pass. However, the 35th General Congregation was called after the previous superior general decided to resign because of health issues. The current Black Pope, known by the name Arturo Sosa, ascended to the throne following the retirement of the 35th Superior General. He is a Venezuelan Catholic priest, elected to the position on October 14, 2016, replacing Adolfo Nicolas and becoming the Society's 36th Superior General. He holds the title for the first Jesuit leader to be born in Latin America. The Black Pope rules over Jesuits, and he has complete control over the order's finances, strategy, and diplomacy. In addition, the Black Pope oversees all Jesuit activities worldwide and reports directly to the Pope. The Jesuits are a controversial religious order, and the Black Pope is their most powerful and influential leader, automatically making him a highly controversial figure. He's believed to be the mastermind behind many of the Church's political machinations. As a result, various governments have banned the Jesuits throughout history, and their activities are often shrouded in secrecy. Despite his power and influence, the Black Pope is not well known to the general public. This is due to the Jesuits' emphasis on discretion and reluctance to attract public attention. Nevertheless, the Black Pope is a powerful and influential figure within the Catholic Church, and his actions can significantly impact the world. How much power does the Black Pope have? That isn't easy to say. Some believe he has great power and influence, while others believe his power is greatly exaggerated. While the truth may remain unknown to many, the Black Pope remains as a mysterious but respected figurehead in the Catholic Church. Because of the Black Pope's mystery and secrecy, many people have started rumors, myths, and even theories about the full identity of the Black Pope. Some are a bit more grounded, like the Pope being involved with the Illuminati, while some are more outlandish and fantastical, like the Black Pope being able to resurrect the dead. The following are the most famous rumors circulating about the Black Pope. 1. The Black Pope is a vampire. This rumor was started by people who feared the power of the Black Pope. Obviously, the Black Pope is not a vampire, although there are rumors floating around that the Black Pope is immortal. 2. The Black Pope is the Antichrist. This rumor is spread by those who believe that the Catholic Church is evil. The Black Pope is not the Antichrist, although he is a controversial figure. 3. The Black Pope controls the Illuminati. This rumor is spread by those who believe that the Illuminati is a real organization. The Black Pope does not control the Illuminati, although he is rumored to be involved with them. Whether or not the Black Pope is truly as powerful and influential as some believe him to be is up for debate, but there is no denying that he is a controversial figure within the Catholic Church, and his beliefs and actions continue to cause division among believers. The Jesuits are a Catholic religious order known for being very conservative and opulent. However, they have a long history of working behind the scenes to influence world events. The Black Pope is the head of this order and wields a great deal of power within the Church. Some people believe the Black Pope is a force for good. They point to his work with the poor and oppressed as proof of this. They also say he's a brilliant and cunning man who knows how to get things done. Others believe that the Black Pope is up to no good and think he's behind some of the Church's more controversial policies, such as its stance on birth control and abortion. Is the Black Pope a force for good or evil in the world? Only time will tell. In the meantime, we need to learn as much as possible about him and his motivations. Only then will we be able to ensure that he is on the side of righteousness. But one thing is certain. He remains one of the most intriguing and mysterious figures in the history of the Catholic Church. The Black Pope is a figure who continues to fascinate and mystify historians and observers of the Vatican. His story is one of power, corruption, and mystery, and deserves to be better known. The Black Pope is a symbol of the dark side of the Catholic Church, and his story is a warning to all who would seek to wield power within its walls. The Black Pope is a reminder that even the holiest of institutions can be tainted by human frailty.
Jestem o tyle rozgoryczony i powiedzmy poruszony ogólnie działalnością i nieszczerością Watykanu, jak i w ogóle całego tego związku religijnego powołującego się na tą fantastyczną wręcz ideologię. Jest to oczywiście fantastyka religijna. Kiedyś dojście do ogólnie takich wniosków było praktycznie niemożliwe, dlatego że dostęp do informacji to był tak upierdolony, że tylko i wyłącznie ci, co pisali te wszystkie idiotyzmy, oni wiedzieli, jaka jest prawda i gdzie jest manipulacja. A wszyscy inni, którzy to już dostawali gotowe, no to wchłaniali. Traktowali to jako pewni. No i oczywiście w ten sposób doszliśmy do dzisiejszych czasów. Nikt tak naprawdę nie podważał do tej pory tej całej koncepcji religijnej, dobroci, powiedzmy intencji dobrej, płynącej z tego przekonania, czy złej. Jak się okazuje, no to przyglądając się działaniu i postępowaniu tych wszystkich klechów, to jeśli oni sami nie wierzą, powiedzmy, w wartości, o których opowiadają w tej całej religii i w ogóle po nich nie widać tego, żeby to wprowadzali w życie, a raczej każdy tak podchodzi do tego, bo mam wyjebane, a w sobotę to się ubiera w cywilki i leci sobie na miasto, na Piotrkowską w Łodzi. To jeśli tak podchodzą i sami w to nie wierzą, to jest tylko substytutem, takim z przymrużeniem oka, jak wszystko w naszej rzeczywistości. I to uważam, że tu jest problem, że my pozwoliliśmy na to. Każdy, powiedzmy, przymykał oko w pewnym sensie i mówił, dawał taką zgodę na to i potem opowiadał to swoim dzieciom i wmawiał im, tak jest, podchodźcie w ten sposób i traktujcie to jako pewnik, bo tak nam mówili. Ale w końcu któreś pokolenie zaczęło zadawać pytania, zaczęli mieć dostęp do internetu, ogólny dostęp do informacji. Nastąpiło pewne pierdolnięcie po głowach, bo tu też jest łatwą manipulację, ale jak ktoś chce połączyć kropki, to znajdzie. Tego się dzisiaj nie da, kurwa, ukryć. To wszystko to jest banda, mafia i posługują się tylko i wyłącznie tak wrażliwym tematem jak religia. I tak naprawdę to spierdolili tylko i wyłącznie w odbiorze społecznym całe to znaczenie religii, mistycyzmu, duchowości i wiary. Bo tak naprawdę filozofia, którą jest eteryzm i do czego nawiązuje, do świadomości energetycznej. Tutaj też to my zahaczamy o te pojęcia, ale to jest tak ciężko się przebić w takim kraju, zabetonowanym jeszcze w jakiś takim, no kurwa, katolickim zaścianku, gdzie nikt nawet nie czytał tych pism świętych, tych kurwa Ewangelii, tych encyklik. Wszyscy lecą tak na zaufanie i Nikt nie analizuje historii starożytnej, jakiegoś religioznawstwa. Mało mają ludzie swoich wniosków i każdy leci na opowieściach i na zaufaniu. I no, mając pojęcie stopniu manipulacji w dzisiejszych wiadomościach, to jak można kurwa zaufać dewiantom z tamtych barbarzyńskich czasów, gdzie chrześcijan to wrzucali lwom dla zabawy na arenę. A krzyż to w ogóle było miejsce kaźni i zabawy. No, przecież tyle osób wymordowali, dlatego na tym też polega ten satanizm, że my to oddajemy jakiemuś... W ogóle jak można nosić na szyi człowieka przybitego do krzyża. No, dla mnie to jest trofeum satanistów. Miejsce kaźni jako symbol kultu. No, po prostu nie do wiary. No.